Michael Smerconish is a nationally syndicated radio host out of Philly and an MSNBC political analyst. And Stephen Moore is a respected member of the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. I want to start with you, Stephen. When I look at these things, part of my head says smart politics. The Republican Party base, suburban, as Michael knows, likes to avoid taxes because they pay a lot of taxes. They feel they're not rich people. They don't feel they're rich. They feel they don't get anything for their taxes except Social Security, which they pay into. And so they don't like taxes. They really don't like them. So this is smart politics. The other part of this is the full mooner stuff. This sort of, we hate government, the black helicopters are coming, this crazy stuff. Okay, allocate it. How much of this is crazy, we hate government, we hate people, and how much of this is smart fiscal? We ought to cut the size of government.
Well, you know, if you think back at the Reagan era, when the kind of Republican revolution was really begun, Chris, remember that was started on the heels of Proposition 13 in the summer, I think, of 1978. So I've actually been to a few of these Tea Parties because remember, a number of them have happened already around the country, and some of them are happening later in the week. Many of them are on April 15th. The one thing that really struck me when I was at one in Wisconsin was that this really isn't something that's being driven, A, by the Republican Party, or B, by the national conservative groups. You got to give credit where credit is due on this, Chris. It really is a genuine kind of grassroots thing that just spontaneously combusted around the country. And so I think it's mainly people. And by the way, one last point. It's not so much about taxes, Chris. It's about the bailouts. People are
that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So it's the notion that, as Rick Santelli well put out, this notion that basically people out there who are totally unreliable, who bought homes they shouldn't have paid for, people who helped them buy those houses they shouldn't have bought, are now getting our money.
That's exactly right, Chris. The people I talk to, yes, they're upset about taxes and they are upset about debt, but they really think fundamentally that the bailouts of the banks, the bailouts of the homeowners who took out bad mortgages, the bailouts to the auto companies,
well, where were these?
Unfair. They think it's unfair and unwise.
Fair enough, but if it isn't partisan, where were these voices last fall when this was decided to be done by the Bush administration?
Well, you know, you started to see, I think it just accumulated, and I think, look, if the Republicans were running things in Washington right now, I think you'd still see the same kind of anger. I don't think it's partisan. I think it's just anger that Washington isn't listening to people.
I might buy that if I didn't see Sean Hannity and Newt Gingrich and the usual suspects all part of this jamboree. Let me go to Michael Smerconish.
One thing about that,
Newt Gingrich is a Republican who may harbor hopes of being president someday. Who knows? But he clearly is a partisan Republican. What's he involved? He's not a regular guy.
You talking to me? Or?
Yeah, Steve.
Okay. Yeah, what I was going to say, hold on, let me tell you what happened. I think these things spontaneously combusted, and then the Republicans wanted to get out in front of it. You know, so I think it started with grassroots, and now these conservative leaders are getting in front of this.
Okay, your thoughts, dichotomize it, dissect it, if you will, Michael. How much of this is real people mad about lousy or bailouts they think are unjustified, and how much of it's just good old partisan Republican politics?
I think that it's a legitimate issue. I think it's a novel idea to use the whole Tea Party ruse for beefing about the President of the United States. But here's the risk that they run.
Yeah, but King George's party was defeated. If you want to use the analogy, Michael, and I know you're a Philly guy, King George's party was defeated in the last election. Those guys were the ones that started the bailouts. They're the ones they should be having their heads dunked. Go ahead. Your thoughts.
Here's the risk that they run. The risk that they run is you work a crowd like this into a lather. Be careful what you wish for, because the signs that they bring and the things that they shout, it's reminiscent to me of what happened in the 11th hour of the campaign when you had people shouting out at McCain and Palin rallies, off with his head, or all that middle name business when some of the folks would refer to the now president by his middle name. And that's not an image that the GOP can withstand, whether these are Republican events per se or not. Any criticism that will be leveled at the way they're conducted will be leveled at the Republican Party.
Well, the question I have back to you, Steve, is that a lot of this money, I love the fact that some of the newspapers are printing the checks. They're showing what the checks look like, at least the recipients of the checks, the beneficiaries of all this bailout money. it's not Joe Blow from San Diego. It's somebody in New York at a big bank. I mean, the checks are being made out to rich people.
Well, that's what makes people angry, Chris. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, look, nobody was more angry than I was when people were getting bailout, when they were getting bonuses for companies that lost billions of dollars. It adds to the sense of frustration that real people, and these are middle-class folks, these are not people who are rich in three-piece suits. And the thing I would say about this is I really think it is not partisan. I really believe, Chris, if Republicans were doing the policies the Democrats were doing, and this, you're right, this started under George Bush, there's no question about it, that people are just angry that Washington isn't listening to the little guy.
So, Stephen Moore, are you personally angry that Newt Gingrich is hijacking a populist crusade? Are you willing to say that? Are you willing to go after Limbaugh and Hannity and the rest of them for being opportunists?
No,
say that, will you?
Those are my
Come
friends.
on, speak for the Wall Street Journal. Speak for the Journal, sir.
No, but look, I mean, I think that I love Sean Hannity. I love those guys. I love Newt Gingrich.
You love
but
them?
This did not start with them. It really did start in towns across America.
You love them? Well, let's watch Fox, because I think they love themselves more than you love them. Here we go.
April 15th, all across the country, Americans are making their voices heard. In California, Texas, Georgia, Washington, D.C., citizens are standing up, saying no to more taxes, and demanding real economic solutions. April 15th, as Tea Parties sweep the nation on tax day, we're there with total, fair, and balanced network coverage. Live. What is the fate of our nation? We report. You decide.
Oh, God. You know, I got to believe that Roger Ailes has the biggest tongue in his cheek when he does these ads. We report, you decide. I mean, what a balanced coverage of an anti-government rally, an anti-tax, a balanced coverage
Chris,
of that. It's so amazing.
Chris, they're going to be, I'll wager to you that this week, this is the real million-man march. I mean, I think there are going to be 1 million people at these things.
Hey, Michael and I agree that Michael, say this true, one of the great strengths of the Republican Party in the suburbs of big cities like Philly, and the reason it survived through thick and thin, people don't like taxes, right?
Yep.
Simple.
Nobody likes taxes, and there's a vacuum that exists on the part of the Republicans that Fox is filling. I mean, that's really what's going on. There's no competent leadership being exerted by the GOP, and that's why they're able to step into this void.
Who should run for president next time? Republican. Michael.
Romney is probably the best of the lot, but he has to run as Mitt, who was governor, not Mitt, who was the recent presidential.
You mean run as the real guy. Anyway, thank you for smart thinking. The real guy. Michael.
My question is, you're a man of the people. Why aren't you out there at these April 15th rallies? I mean, come on. You know, you say you speak for the middle-class guys.
What is this? Intramurals? Michael Smerconi's, thank you. Steve, stay in your box.